I suppose it's not that I always knew I wanted to be on Broadway, which is in all reality geography. Um, I knew that I always wanted to be an artist. I always knew that I was a creative being and that I wanted to make art and performance and creation my life's work. And I think there's a difference even when you're young, when you know that you don't just want a job, you want a vocation. And I think I knew from a very early age, probably about 8 or 9, that's what I wanted for my life. And it's interesting. When I work with young people, and when I even when I started to grow up around people around me, you start to realize how fortunate you are to be so focused and so deeply know what you want from your life and from the world and what you want to contribute, because I think so many young people rightfully use schooling and then higher education to sort of discover what they want to contribute to the world. But I didn't have to do that. So I was very, very focused, and therefore, went about courting education, getting my degree in drama, and auditioning and attempting to make it all work. Interestingly, I definitely had some great contemporaries in Detroit. The entire Keenan Bolger family, all 3 of them, and I've run into them in the New York theater community, which has been amazing. And did some community theater with them, Village Players in Birmingham. We all were the children of River City in The Music Man, and of course Sutton and Hunter Foster as well. I think what's wonderful about those people that are just ahead of you, or your contemporaries, is that you get to see that it's possible to have a desire and a dream and to actually actualize it in real format. And I think, though, that my real role models, though, are people that are way ahead of me. I've always been I have a lot of role models, but my only idol is Dame Angela Lansbury. Mostly because I admire the fact that, she is an immigrant who came here and started her career in cinema at 18 and continued to reinvent herself over and over again at every stage of her life. Broadway star, not even fully recognized for her potential until her 40s, and not really a household name on television until she was in her 60s. And those are the people that constantly reinvent themselves are the people that I so admire, like Octavia Spencer and Billy Porter and Vera Wang and Julia Child. Those are people that loved things and discovered and actualized themselves later in life. I love those stories. We all kind of nurse these little dream roles or dream experiences. I would have to say that a couple stick out as very profound. Without question, my relationship to Fiddler on the Roof is probably the deepest relationship I have. I was so fortunate to play 2 of Tevia's daughters on both sides of the Atlantic. So I played Huddle, Tevia's second eldest daughter, who sings the beautiful song, Far From the Home I Love. I did that in London in the West End at the Savoy Theatre for a little over 2 years. And that role endeared itself to me in a way that I had never experienced before. She just took over my mind and my soul and my bone marrow, so much so that I actually was haunted by what happened to her and wrote a novel about her titled after Anatevka, about what happens to her in Perchik in Siberia. And when I even went to Siberia, and I felt so compelled by this character that was part of my career that I actually sort of copied her geographic journey. And wrote that manuscript, and it was just sitting on my computer. And 8 years later, was cast as Tevia's oldest daughter, Tzeitel, in the 50th anniversary Broadway production. And what was so magical about those experiences, which were both beautiful in their own right, was that they eventually became a connected experience, in the sense that, realizing I couldn't have possibly been more thoroughly lived Huddle's story out. But by the time it came time to play Tzeitel, I was no longer a girl, I was a woman, thinking about marriage and family and faith, and was ideally suited to serve Tzeitel's story. So got to sort of see a family inside the eyes and experiences of two characters, which was really special. And then two others that really stick out. I have to say, I think probably the most overwhelming experience of my life career, that I don't know that it will ever be topped, was I was fortunate enough to play Maria in West Side Story, in the only symphonic recording of West Side Story, opposite Cheyenne Jackson as Tony, conducted by Michael Tilson Thomas, and with his San Francisco Symphony. And we made a beautiful Grammy-nominated recording. And it was a dream come true, and interestingly, I've always known that, I like to say this thing that when you're an actor, you're supposed to be versatile, and you know, some people are more versatile than others, but there are certain roles that individuals have a lot to say about, you know, that they just know something about a character, they can speak to something about them, and I felt that way about Maria. I felt that we had a very personal and deep, deep connection, and I knew I could serve her. And I also thought it was a character that was about to pass me by. You know, I thought, I'm getting older, and this is a very young character. And the fact that I not only got to do it in that setting, but that it was preserved with over 70 pieces in an orchestra, one of the greatest orchestras in the world, forever, I mean, is a gift beyond imagining. You know, you just think, I could, you know, I could go tomorrow, my contribution on earth is settled. I will say another really important memory I have was I did a one-woman opera called Arlington that was about the wife of a U.S. veteran who was off fighting in a sort of unnamed war in the Middle East. And she was alone at home waiting for him to return. And it was such an important, beautiful, challenging piece, a little over an hour long, and just me singing a direct address, meaning that my character sort of looked into the eyes of the audience. And I did it in this tiny, tiny little off-Broadway theater, making hardly any money at all. And it was such an important experience because I remember coming home one night and walking home after this show, realizing that, you know, there were probably 100 people in the audience. It was a very small theater. And being hit by this ton of bricks realization that I was the happiest I had ever been in my life, in my career, that what I was doing was using all of me, all of my skills, all of my heart and soul, and it didn't matter where it was happening or how much I was being paid. And I had this huge realization that success it isn't about what you do, it's about how you feel about what you do. I was so fortunate to be invited to come home by Alan Nachman at Cabaret 313, which is this wonderful, exciting performance venue that's bringing world-class cabaret back to Detroit, not even back to Detroit, to Detroit. And you know, this wonderful opportunity for people of Detroit to see world-class talent in such an intimate setting. And partnering with them in this experience is having their artists that perform come and work with the students at Mosaic and bring their knowledge and their experience to these, you know, hungry, talented, enthusiastic kids right here in Detroit. And it's, of course, extra special for me because I'm from Detroit. And it was wonderful to perform at Cabaret 313 and really feel the specialness of a homecoming, you know, share with the audience, but it's even more special to give back to the place that gave me so much. So it's really special. I think the most important thing in the world is remembering where you've come from. We've all come from somewhere. Even before we were an idea, we have this ancient history in our families and our parents and our grandparents, and I think whether we even realize it or explore it or not, it has this residue in our spirit that informs who we are and what we do. And, you know, hopefully we can take that ephemera and, you know, really make something of ourselves. And I endeavor every day to be the best possible ambassador and banner for the city of Detroit. I want to make Detroit proud, and I love this city. And what would I can't do that fully without contributing to the next generation of people that are, going to be banners and ambassadors for our great city. I never had a direct communication with artists that I admired. I had these incredible imaginary relationships with them in my mind. Thank goodness for cast albums and recorded performances. And I can't even imagine what kind of a young fan I would be if I'd had the internet like we do now. But no, the opportunity to really meet, work with, connect with artists that are doing the things I endeavor to do, this is so special. I think the most important thing I like to always start with is to make the artists feel, the young artists feel that the work is accessible to them, that the wonderful thing about the arts, and I really believe this, is that at any age, clearly, at any age, at any stage of life, at any level of competency or mastery, the arts can enrich your life. Whether you're just playing the cello in your living room, whether you're painting in your garden, it can enrich your life. And what's wonderful about these young kids is they have professional level skills and talent, but are just still studying and still endeavoring to be professionals. But I think the first thing I want to pass on to them is that regardless of the outcome of their careers, that this experience for them will always be relevant to the adults that they can become. So that's the most important thing, and I think it's a message that all of us need to know. And then on a practical level, I want them to see that the songs that they're singing and the lessons that you can take from performing arts are really about connecting to your human specificity, to their stories, relating the material back to who they are, and then contributing that and serving the stories of the characters. I'm really a big proponent of the concept that the arts are a service industry. We are serving the characters, serving the creators, and serving the audience, right? So that to take it, though it is about you and about what you have to say, that it's ultimately about serving the characters and the audience. And I want to really pass that on so that you feel that no matter what you do and what you create, it's always a contribution. I think that the mindset as artist, as servant, as artist, as person in a service industry, really is a universal lesson, right? It creates and fosters this notion of internal humility, so that what it takes away is this notion of fame for fame's sake, notoriety for notoriety's sake, which I think is a very, frankly, toxic part of our society today. We live in a me generation, which on the one hand, I'm sure on some level, does foster self-actualization and self-awareness, but can always cross over into something that becomes self-involvement. And what I want and what I think is really crucial about artists is recognizing that something in the middle is the most important thing for being a contributing adult in society, regardless of your profession or vocation, which is self-possession, to be possessed of self, not self-obsession, but to realize who you are, know what you believe in, know what you stand for, know what you stand against, and serve the art form, serve your community, serve your scene partners, serve the people that are costuming you, lighting you, making sure you can be heard, washing your laundry at the end of the night, and realizing that you are indebted to them, as well as knowing yourself, that right there in the middle is this concept that you have to know yourself so that you can serve the art form. And I don't think there is a profession in the world that doesn't relate to. So regardless, they can take that away no matter what they become, and hopefully it'll make them make their adulthoods meaningful. I think success is a very complex concept in our society. And nowadays it's so much about, how many followers you have or something like that. that success, again, is not about net worth, it's not about notoriety, it's about going to bed at the end of the day knowing that you feel deeply and passionately about how you're using your days on earth. And I think that when you really, really feel that you have a calling, as I'm so fortunate to as an artist, I know that I end my days and begin them with gratitude and excitement for what's next. And I think that's what I hope to pass on, to really remind them that success is not about what you do or where you do it or how much you're paid to do it. It's about how you feel about what you do. And I think if they can walk out of here knowing that and remembering that, the future's going to be pretty bright. I'm sort of a like closet academic. I love research and learning, and I think one of the great things about being an actor specifically is that it gives you this opportunity to almost live another lifetime for a period of time, right? That you know, for the run of the show, for the rehearsal process, and then, you know, for a couple hours every day, you're dropping into medieval England, or, you know, the Pale of Settlement at the turn of the century, or whatever it may be, the 60s, all these wonderful, wonderful things that you can be and live out and understand. So my process is deeply academic before I get into the room, trying to just consume everything I can, see films, read books, listen to the music, even like know about the food and the clothing and all those things. All the little tiny things that you don't necessarily think will make a huge impact, but might, you never know. So that you can really put yourself there. And the goal, of course, is not to convincingly pretend to be another person, but for those couple of hours on stage to actually let that character sort of take your body and mind and heart and soul over and sort of use it as its vehicle. You want to actually convincingly live as that person. And in order for that to happen, you have to leave no stone unturned. So it begins there, and then once you get to the rehearsal room, it's just about asking the right questions, making the right connections with the people you're working with, and, you know, being brave enough to bring yourself to the work and the work to yourself. I hope to translate those lessons to the students today by showing them that being a performing artist is more than just about the performing and the rewards of performing, that it has to be more. They have to be there for more than just the applause, right? They have to be there more than just for the glory, that the glory has to come from within, from the self-satisfaction of a job well done, and knowing that they, again, in terms of service, lent themselves to the characters and are not just basking in the glow of an appreciative crowd. So, and also hopefully to get them excited about the possibilities of, you know, really imparting the importance of curiosity. Curious people are the smartest people. Curious people are the most interesting people. Curious people are also the very, very best artists, because when you have curiosity, the options are endless. There's nothing that you can't know because you innately want to know. I went to school and have crossed paths with a lot of them that have become professionals. And so I know that Mosaic Youth Theater is doing incredible work to foster all of these values and all of the discipline that's required in young people to not only have careers, but make really wonderful adults in the world. I think I'm just looking forward to really connecting with them. There's nothing like this experience. You know, when you're on stage, when you're performing, you obviously have a connection with the audience, and it is personal, but you don't get to continue the conversation, not even really if that audience comes to stage door. You might have, you know, a couple of minutes, but to really indulge in connecting deeply with people, particularly young people, for an hour or so is such a rare opportunity for not only them, but for me. And, you know, I'm not only looking forward to passing things on that I know and I think are important, but frankly, I'm excited to learn from them because they know things that I don't know. And that's going to be great data and ephemera for me to take and put into my future work and in my future life. So it's a very symbiotic relationship, and yeah, I think I'm just excited for us to learn from each other. I think the thing that I love about this city is that it is inextinguishable. And even saying that, I feel really emotional because I think we have all, as individuals, no matter where we're from, we have all been in that moment where we truly believe we are at the bottom, maybe even deeper than that, looking up to see the bottom, right? And Detroit knows that. Detroit knows that feeling. And the thing that I can't believe about this city is over and over and over again, we reinvent ourselves. We are hardworking. We are willing to do whatever it takes to find and discover within ourselves and in a collective hope to keep going, to keep moving forward. This is not a once great city. It is a great city. And not every individual, not every community, not every place can say that they have that inextinguishable quality. Those are the places where magical things happen. Those are the places that foster impactful, important people, that foster change, start movements, and really change the world. I am so proud to be from here, and it moves me because I have had individual moments of feeling inextinguishable, and I look to Detroit and I know anything's possible. I want the kids to walk out feeling inspired, capable, proud, that anything is possible, and that their spirits can't be dampened. I want them to walk out of here feeling like they have all the skills inside them to contribute, to make great art, to be great citizens of the world, and to be proud to be from Detroit. I try to show the world how Detroit performs by being the best ambassador of this city to the world that I can be.